All right, hey there, Epic Investors. It's Matt Theriault, CEO, Epic Real Estate. Good to see you. And this is where we show people how to invest in real estate with an emphasis on retiring early. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about passive income in the digital age, as that's very much, the subject of this show, being passive income. That's what we talk about here, because it's, kind of the essence of retiring early. And retiring early can really come as a result of, I guess, three different options, three primary ones. One is minimizing your life to a point where it costs barely anything to live. It seems to be pretty popular these days, becoming a minimalist. But I don't know, who wants to do that, right? Life is too short to live that way, in my opinion. Two, you could also win the lottery, and that could be the literal lottery, or it could be the proverbial lottery, I guess. Proverbial? I don't know if that's the right word. But I mean, you could be born with an amazing talent for sports, or an amazing talent for music, or you've got an amazing brain and you invent the next thing that's going to change the world. Like, that's another way that you can do it. Or three, you can create passive income. And real estate has always shown to be the most likely vehicle for most people to make that happen. It's created more wealth for more people than anything else. It's still tough, right? It's still challenging. But if you want to kind of put the odds in your favor and that's your goal, that's going to be the best shot for you, the best place for you to be able to make that happen. And especially around recently, people that's really multiplying people's returns on their passive income is this exit strategy of short-term rentals. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. And then there are some new options emerging in the digital currency world. So we'll be looking at generating passive income with cryptocurrencies as well, and some other cool stuff too. I think you'll really enjoy it. But before we begin, if this is your first time here, really glad that you found us. If you like what you hear, make sure you hit the subscribe button before you go. If this is not your first time here, welcome back, and thank you for continuing to share this with your friends and family. You're the absolute best for doing that. And we're going on, I think we just passed our 11-year anniversary, and I just wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you sharing. By the way, if you'd like to get started investing in real estate or jumpstart your existing investing efforts, I put together a free training just for you, and you can find that link in the description, or you can just go to, I have a special link here for you, matsfreetraining.com. Came up with that domain name all by myself. All right, matsfreetraining.com. And if you'd like to look at potentially taking your real estate investing up to another level, you're already investing, you want to get create systems, you want to scale it, head over to reiace.com, answer a few questions, and pick a time. We'll hop on the phone and brainstorm some ideas about what that might look like. All righty. So my guest today, I do have a guest, and I met this person on Twitter. I've never met anybody on Twitter before other than tweeting, but never met anybody in real life. And we just met a few minutes ago for the very first time. But I reached out to him directly because, the world of entrepreneurship, unless you came from a family of entrepreneurs or you belong to some sort of organization, it can be a rather lonely world. And if your family is not the entrepreneurial mindset, they might flat out think you're crazy. Real estate investing, like a lot of people think you're just flipping houses, and there's not a whole lot of us out there that do that. And then when you go into the passive income aspect of it, there's probably even fewer that try to do that. And then there's the newer world of cryptocurrency over the last decade or so. And like I said, it can be a rather lonely existence and tough to find people that you can relate with. And when you cross paths with someone that checks all three of those boxes, there's an instant connection. It gets very exciting. And that makes me want to make a new friend. So I reached out to our guest today. And so please help me welcome to the show, Mr. Chandler Spence. Chandler, welcome to Epic Real Estate Investing.
Matt, it's great to be here. Appreciative of the opportunity and looking forward for our discussion today.
Sweet. Yeah, me too. Like I said, it's rare that you get to meet somebody that kind of is an entrepreneur, does invest in real estate, and does invest in cryptocurrency these days. And so thanks for taking time out of your schedule to join us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, likewise, you are my first Twitterverse friendship. So I'm equally glad that you reached out. We kind of had a connection. It looks like we got a lot in common just based on Twitterverse and what we're interested in. So it should be fun.
Perfect. Yeah. So I guess we're both Twitter virgins.
Something like that.
But I think we found ourselves on the same thread of a crypto thing, and I went and you said something, I don't even know what it was, but it was like, it caught my attention. I went and checked out your profile, and I saw that you were in real estate also and focused on short-term rentals. And I am just moments away from closing on my very first property that I plan on turning into a short-term rental. So this is going to be a new experience. I've got a bunch of rentals. I've got a bunch of seller finance notes, but I haven't gone this route with the short-term thing. So I want to pick your brain on that, and then the crypto thing and all that. But I guess just kind of start. And have you always been an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, so I've always kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit. But for the past 9 years, I was a part of a Fortune 100 medical device corporation. And last month, I actually retired from the corporate life. And so now I'm fully embracing entrepreneurship for the first time, full time. And a lot of that has to do with some of the opportunities that we've built in the real estate space, the e-commerce space, and last but definitely not least, in the digital asset cryptocurrency space. So the full-time entrepreneurial gig is still pretty new to me. I'm in the honeymoon phase right now, doing it full time, but it's been great. And kind of how we got into real estate investing was my wife and I have been married for 5 years. Today is actually our 5th wedding anniversary.
Congrats, you're spending it with
we've been
me.
married for 5 years, and we got we did a short stint in San Diego for work, and we realized we were working so hard with our respective jobs, and that there had to be an easier way, because back then in the corporation, if you're not working, you're not making money. And so that's where the initial concept of passive income came from. So I read all the books, listened to all the podcasts, talked to all the gurus, and real estate was really the one that stuck out to me, just because you have so much optionality in real estate, meaning there's so many different avenues that you can take under the same umbrella. And so that's really what kind of grasped us and what we took an interest in. So we got introduced to real estate with turnkey investing. So long distance real estate investing, taking some properties in linear markets like St. Louis, Indianapolis, Baltimore, fix and flipping them and then renting them out. At one point, we climbed the ladder all the way up to 18 different rental properties that we had while still holding our full-time jobs. And it really became a little bit of a burden for us. Right along that same time, we relocated to Nashville, Tennessee, where we currently live now. And if you don't know anything about Nashville, it is the party capital of country music, bachelorette capital of the world. And so when we first moved here, my wife and I each had 2 stipulations that we wanted to find in a house. She wanted a bathtub, and I wanted a finished basement so we could rent it out on Airbnb and pay our mortgage. So that's what we did. That's how we got into the short-term rental world, is we rented our basement for 2 years while living in Nashville, and it paid our mortgage almost every single month of those 2 years.
Oh, nice. So that's how it started.
That's how it all got going. Yeah. And then from there, once you kind of get bit by the bug, you slowly start to ease your way into, wait a second, we might be onto something here. If this little 1-bedroom efficiency unit in our basement of the house that we're living in is paying our mortgage every month, what would this look like at scale? If we go buy a property and do this on a bigger scale, all the while we have our corporate jobs. So this is strictly a nights and weekends kind of hobby for my wife and I. And so that's what we did. We networked, and we found some friends in the developer world and the investor world. And that led to a couple of different acquisitions for houses in Nashville that we now rent full time. And so from there, now we're up to 3 individual units that we own and operate to this day.
Nice. Starting the way you started renting out the basement, there's a term inside of real estate investing called house hacking, right? Where you rent out the property like that, but you did it on a short-term rental basis. What would you say your biggest lessons that you learned from actually sharing space with new strangers all the time?
Yeah. So the way our setup worked was we didn't share space. So we had the basement was closed off to our home, and they also had a private entrance. So it was a pretty great setup for doing this. And so we really didn't cross paths that often with the guests. We didn't have to see them. We didn't have to talk to them if we didn't want to. My wife and I were both in sales, so we don't have a problem meeting new people and making new friends. And so we kind of enjoyed the hosting aspect of it. I would say that as long as you can put in the proper rules, you can meet guest expectations, very clear and transparent about what you're offering them and what they're looking for, it ends up being a pretty good match. And so we loved it. We did it for 2 straight years, renting out our basement. And it wasn't until we decided to grow bigger and scale do we start to embrace some of the different tools and resources that are out there And that's really what gets me excited about short-term rentals, is you can run a business with an STR from your phone or from your laptop, as long as you've got an internet connection. You can be anywhere around the world. I know you hear a lot of people probably talk about this, but this is a laptop business, provided that you put the resources in place locally, maintenance folks, your cleaning team, and you want to do QC or run some errands or anything like that. As long as you have those resources in place, you can operate this business anywhere that you want to. And that was something that was really attractive to us.
Right. So you got 3 of them now.
Yeah.
Plan on growing still? Is it going that well?
Yeah, we have 3 now. And then the market has just been so insanely hot, not only in Nashville, but I'm sure across the country. And so we haven't made any acquisitions recently. So what we've done is we've pivoted a little bit to change our model. And now we're looking for plots of land to go build units. We've been limited partners and private investors for several developers along the way to kind of teach us the process. And so now we're actively scouting for different plots of land to go build our own units. And one thing that's unique in Nashville is the zoning code is very developer friendly. And so in a lot of places, if you buy one plot of land, you build one house. But in Nashville, there's certain zoning codes that'll allow you to buy one plot of land, but build up to 5 units, for instance. And so that's what we're doing now. We're buying one plot of land. We're building 5 units that will go through, build them, refinance out of them, hold them as long-term assets, and rent them on Airbnb and VRBO. And it just kind of puts lighter fluid on that cash flow game.
For sure. So are you building actual like houses? Is that what you're going to build? That's the structures you're building?
Yeah, these are more or less townhomes, because the name of the game is to fit as many units as you can as the zoning code will allow on that piece of land.
Right.
So the final product of that, the output, starts to look more like townhomes, like a small townhome community. But the houses that we currently have are individual homes. 2 of the 3 have rooftops that overlook the downtown skyline. Nice. So it's a pretty good setup, and we managed to get in early before the real estate market really took off. Like, we bought these back in 2018, pre-construction. And so we got to kind of consult a little bit on the construction process. And there's some little tweaks you can make to really maximize your house as a short-term rental. The living areas, you want to be as big as possible. You want as many bathrooms as you can get. You don't need a big kitchen pantry because no one's storing food for a long period of time.
Right.
You want as many balconies and rooftops as you can possibly get, because that's really those are the amenities that are going to speak to the guest and make your listing stand out.
Nice. I've got it's not actually not my friend, it's my wife's friend, who during the pandemic, she had salons, like massage spas and hair and nails and stuff like that. And obviously all that stuff in California all got shut down, and as well as it did around the rest of the country. But what she went and did, and I've found this, now I've gone down this rabbit hole, and I can't believe what I've seen in the short-term rental space, is she went out and bought a lot of land and put just 3 of those little silver Gulfstream buses on there.
Yeah. And
so she just has 3 of these parked, and then all she built was a water facility and like a community bathroom in the middle of this little, like, it's almost like like they've circled the wagons with these Gulfstreams. Yep. And she is booked for like 6 or 7 months. Like, there is no vacancy. And it's remarkable of what people will go out there and how little of investment it can take, and how much demand there is for something like that.
Yeah, well, there's so much room for opportunity. And it's kind of the same way that you and I met on Twitter and got to talking about some of the stuff that we're interested in and that we're doing in our own entrepreneurial journeys. If you just put yourself out there, then the right people are going to find you, guaranteed. And so it's the same thing as if you list something that's unique and it has great amenities and it fits a need for what guests in that particular area or city are looking for, they're going to find you, and you'll have a successful investment with that. So it's more or less matchmaking at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah, the other thing is, have you seen the covered wagons?
No, I haven't seen those.
Oh, let me show you this. This is funny. Let's see how to share the screen. Here we go. I couldn't believe this. I mean, this is straight from Airbnb right here. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Look at those.
Yes. So like right here, this one here, Like that, this is a short-term rental here, and then people just sit there and they lay and spend the night in those things. And here's what they like look on like on the inside.
Oh,
Pretty
that's so
remarkable, huh?
great.
Yeah,
Why
I mean,
wouldn't you want to stay in that, you know?
say that again.
I said, why wouldn't you want to stay in there? I mean, what a cool experience.
Totally, right? Totally. But it's just I just looked at it like, wow, you don't have to if you're actually building physical structures. It's like you don't have to these days. It doesn't look like. I don't know if the longevity, if this is a trend or something like that, but I guess you could just move them off and then build physical structures later. But yeah, it doesn't take a whole lot of money. You don't have to build full-on houses to make it work.
Right. Yeah. Well, and, in certain cities and municipalities, Nashville, for instance, you're not allowed. They specifically specify your dwelling is not allowed to have wheels, meaning you can't move it. So
Oh,
we're
really?
not allowed to rent RVs or buses or wagons or anything like that. But otherwise, that's a great idea. If you get further outside into kind of rural Tennessee, something like that, you can probably scale pretty easily, make an encampment out of it, market it.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen teepees. I think we see
Yep.
tree houses a lot. I've seen
Yep.
even people that will repurpose old shipping containers and outfit them like a home and make them kind of cool and edgy, the industrial look.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes a 1-bedroom efficiency unit. So it's pretty cool.
Very cool. So someone like myself who's about to, and you brought up something very interesting. I don't know if it's interesting, but something I think everyone that would be considered getting involved in this is important. Is that every kind of state, every little city has their own little regulations and guidelines. There's not some sort of universal law that regulates the short-term rental space.
Yeah.
Here in Vegas, it's you can't be closer than 600 feet to another short-term rental. So now you have to go out and go to their little map to find out where all the short-term rentals are blocked, and then you can't be in the side of an HOA, which eliminates about 60% of the city, and
Yep.
And then like what you just said, like you can't put something on wheels, right? And then which is really weird. And Tennessee, I would think that would be like a perk, or that would be like a bonus thing, or an incentive to who doesn't want to rent a covered wagon inside of Nashville, Tennessee. But anyway. So yeah, you got to look at those types of things. For someone like myself, I'm getting ready I'm just going to buy a standard. I'm going for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Because I had a friend that kind of warned me, and maybe you could share your thoughts on this, but kind of warned like you don't really want to go for 2-day or 3-day rentals. You want to kind of demand a 4-day minimum type thing. Because it kind of eliminates the party atmosphere, and you typically attracts a nicer tenant and stuff like that. Have you noticed those types of things too?
Yeah, we definitely have. And I would argue that's also market specific. So our big days in Nashville are Thursdays through Sunday. So Thursday through Sunday are 3-night minimums for us. The rest of the week are just 2-night minimums.
Okay.
We get some business travelers, some families that come in during the week, but by and large, our busy time of the week is Thursday to Sunday. And so that's our sweet spot. And we know exactly how to market around that. And so we also go acquire properties that will fit that same dynamic. So we know the target demographic that are coming to Nashville. It's typically 8 to 10 to 12 people as a part of a group, bachelor, bachelorette party, reunion, birthday party, girls trip, that sort of stuff. So we buy 3 and 4 bedroom units. In Nashville, they do have occupancy restrictions, and it's a formula. So it's 2 times the number of bedrooms plus 4. That's as many people as you can have. So a 3-bedroom unit can have an occupancy max of 10 people.
Okay.
4-bedroom unit can have 12. So we know that 12 is the maximum that any listing in Nashville is allowed to have. So what we did was we went and built 2 units side by side. And so we're not skirting the regulations. We're still playing by the rules that are in the playbook. But what we do is we have those 2 individual listings that are side by side. And then we also have what we call a combo listing. So each listing can accommodate 10 people. The combo listing can accommodate 20 people. And so that's another way that we differentiate ourselves from the marketing perspective to bigger groups coming into town. So little creative things like that, I think are always good to try and find. The space is getting more and more saturated as more and more people find out about short-term rentals, and especially post-COVID, people don't want to go to kind of a sterile hotel room where everything looks and feels the same. They want a different dynamic. They want common space, and these larger homes can give them that. So we're definitely seeing an uptick in demand, not only present day, but also our booking lead time is getting further and further out, which is, I think, a great thing to see. especially post-COVID, where people are getting revenge travel and they're packing up their families and they're coming down to Nashville for a good weekend of country music and honky tonks. So, yeah, it's been good, and it's glad to see the travel pattern starting to come back.
For sure. Is that primarily your clientele, like the vacationer, the tourist sightseer type?
Typically. I mean, that's probably 90% of the folks that we host, families, groups of friends coming in from, a wide array of different life events, anywhere from birthdays to anniversaries to weddings and bachelorette parties. So everywhere in between.
Right. You said the word marketing a few times. And so when it comes to, once I'm done with my property, or once I own it and I'm going to go ahead and put it up there, is it as simple as just putting it on Airbnb or VRBO? Or is there more that you have to do with regard to marketing?
Yeah, there's a lot of thought that needs to go into it, because if you consider every real estate investor that has a long-term rental, ideally they make cash flow every month. Mm-hmm. Well, if they look over at their short-term rental friend and they're making 3x that cash flow, which in our experience, that's been about the ratio,
the rule of thumb,
3x
right?
Short-term rental income to long-term. And they say, well, I'm going to put my property on Airbnb and VRBO. And they list it up there and it looks like every other one that's in the market. Nothing really stands out about that. Mm-hmm. So what we have tried to do and kind of learned how to do is tell a story with your listing. So you've got your photos, tell a story with your photos, get your professional photos, don't take them with your iPhone. Sure, you can, but if you want to really stand out from the rest of the crowd, differentiate yourself, get professional photos done. Get an interior designer to kind of spruce up your place, make it look funky and cool, because the whole idea is to get people to stop scrolling once they see your headline photo and say, I want to stay at that place. Right. Like those covered wagons, you show the inside of it and you think, I want to stay at that place. That looks really cool.
Right.
So photos are critical. The listing itself, you want it to tell a story. So that inherently is marketing. You're marketing on the OTAs, which are just the online travel agencies, Airbnb, VRBO, booking.com. There's a whole laundry list of them. You want to be listed on as many as possible, but you also want to have an efficient way to manage each one of those. And so that's where we started discovering some different software tools. So one software tool, as you gain more and more listings, it becomes a little bit of a nightmare to try and coordinate all the different calendars. Is called the PMS, Property Management System. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of your centralized hub for your operation. All of the information, pictures, descriptions, reviews flows through your PMS. And it's also a really efficient way to communicate with your guests. Different PMSs are out there. They all have kind of different pricing structures. The one that we use is called OwnerRez. And we have been beyond, it's called OwnerRez, short for owner reservations. And we've been beyond pleased with how it's worked out. It's nimble, it's flexible, and it kind of gives you a central reservoir to look at your business in a snapshot and then take action from there, whether it's updating pricing, communicating with a guest, changing up your listing description, things like that. So on the marketing front, you'll list them on the OTAs, your big box travel sites. What we've started doing, and this was kind of our COVID hobby project, was we created our own website. And now we're marketing pretty heavily to generate direct bookings from guests.
Okay.
As a direct result of what happened during COVID. In March and April of 2020, we were in the thick of it and the world was ending, is what it felt like.
Right.
Airbnb and VRBO went in and said, if a guest wanted to cancel, they've got free reign to cancel. There's no recourse. It doesn't matter what you've worked out in terms of a deposit, a hold, anything. The guest was free and clear. And so what does that do to us as the host? Well, it completely chops us at the knees, because that's income that we're counting on. That's cash flow we're needing to run the business. And so after that, we committed to developing another avenue of marketing with direct booking. So created a website, created a booking engine. And so now we're slowly but surely collecting guest email addresses so that we can market to them in the future. We just started doing that with phone numbers. There's actually a lot of regulation about getting people's phone numbers and getting permission to use it for text marketing and whatnot. So we're slowly figuring that out, but just looking for different ways to talk to people outside of trying to compete with Google, when AdWords and words, but finding a very genuine, personalized connection with guests, future and past guests, to entice them to come back and stay with us again.
So is pay-per-click advertising how you're promoting your websites right now?
Not as much. We're relying pretty heavily on email marketing. So we've got a tool that we use, and this is probably one of the best kept secrets that I found, but it's a Wi-Fi marketing tool, and it's called StayFi. And the way that it works is, if you think about when you go to Starbucks, for instance, they used to do this. You go sit down at a Starbucks, you want to get onto the Wi-Fi. Well, you've got to submit your name, your email address, maybe your phone number to get access. Same concept here is, in order for the guest to access the Wi-Fi, they've got to give us their name, email, phone number. If they want to, they can opt into marketing communications, capture that, and then remarket to them. The big difference for why this is so great is, in the past, you didn't get a guest email address unless they were the booking guest. So they could be 1 out of 10 guests in our units. Well, we want all 10. And so this Wi-Fi marketing tool gives us the ability to do that. Then you integrate that with your marketing machine, MailChimp, Constant Contact, one of those, develop your templates, and then stay in touch personally with those guests directly.
Got it. So you're attracting them through through an Airbnb, but once they check in, now you're collecting all that information that way.
Yeah, we do that digitally and physically. So digitally, we're capturing their info, and we're telling them at every corner, book directly with us on your next trip, and you can save a lot of money, because these OTAs have a lot of fees built in. So save money, book directly. Here's how you do it. We have some signs as little reminders in the units themselves. So as they're having a good time, they say, "Oh, we love this place. We want to come back. It says here I can get 10% off my next stay if I book on this website." So it's these constant little reminders to retrain people's brains. Book directly with us. You save money. And as host, we have a little bit more control over the booking process. And that's really the name of the game.
Got it. You just said something, people wanting to come back, and made me think about our online world now of customer reviews and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Have you had to do you have to deal with any tough reviews, and how do you manage those? Should you have someone that has a bad experience, or just someone's a jerk?
Yeah, it's tough. And reviews are probably the most dreaded aspect for hosts with short-term rentals, because it cuts both ways. It's very similar to your Uber review. Some people don't know they've got an Uber score, but you do. Your driver rates you, and vice versa. So Airbnb works the same ways. They have some pretty strict parameters on that process, but once you understand the rules of the game and the exact timeline of how a review works, you can work that system to your advantage. Completely legal, completely above board, but it's all a big puzzle that you need to fit together in the right timing. For instance, here's a good example. We had a guest 2 weeks ago, had a great time on Broadway, which is the main strip here in Nashville. Probably a little too much fun. Threw up all over the sheets, comforters, bed skirt, everything. And it had to be replaced. It was stained. It was nasty. So what Airbnb does is, you've got 2 weeks post-stay for you to leave a review for the guests are leave a review for you. So our MO is, we don't leave a review first, because typically if a guest leaves a review for you, it's positive. Most people don't go out of their way to leave a negative review. And if they do, you already know about something that happened, and you should be actively mitigating that at all costs. So, and then after that, once the guest is reviewed, then you can charge them for those items. That's a little trick that we learned, because if you charge them first, the review will likely not be as good or good at all. And we found that Airbnb and VRBO are not your friends. They're great platforms, and they're great at what they do. But when it comes down to a guest who's paying more of the percentage of the booking fee than you are as the host, who do you think they're going to side with? They're going to side with the guest. So oftentimes they'll side with the guest, and you're either out some money or you're not getting back as much as you want. But that leads me to the other thing, which is constant contact and thorough communication with your guests. And so we try and get in touch with guests in as many different ways as they would like us to. So setting expectations about their stay, you can do that through email. You can do that through the native messaging portals on each platform. Hey, here's what's coming up. Here's some great things to look forward to in Nashville. All these different things. here's the next step. Here's when you're going to receive your check-in information. Here's what will be in there. And then send the check-in information. So that way they feel comfortable opening up. You've got a good conversation going. And you can also squash problems quickly if they do come up, because if a guest is upset, they're probably going to tell you. And then you can start to work with them to make sure it's a happy ending for them and a happy ending for you as well.
Got it. So you just mentioned a lot of stuff. Are you in communication a lot with your guests, or is this all in an automated system?
The great part about this is, and this is how we were able to run a small short-term rental business with corporate jobs, is 95% of this business can be outsourced and automated. And so that's what kept us above float. I'm a millennial by nature. And so I'm on my phone a lot. I'm on my laptop a lot. COVID accelerated this digital world that we live in with Zoom calls like this one. And so everything you can do, you can set up online. In most areas, you can automate them, from pricing adjustments to guest communication to scheduling the cleaner, scheduling a maintenance man, and everything in between. You can completely automate and outsource to where we have 3 properties and I spend no more than 30 minutes a day in our business. And that's just because I like it. I like communicating with the guest if I need to. I like to know what's going on, because we pride ourselves on offering a really great guest experience. We think that's one area, and feedback from guests has been, hey, you guys offer a great experience from start to finish. It's not just, putting up a cool listing with some cool photos and then it kind of falls flat. We try and wrap our arms around the whole process. So from the instant they reach out and say, hey, we're interested, we've got a couple of questions about your place, being very thorough, communicative, transparent, and having good customer service till the very end.
Sure.
And what we do at the very end is, once they check out, we'll say, we don't ask for 5-star reviews. We kind of approach it with a little bit different angle, because you're not supposed to ask for 5-star reviews. I know a lot of people probably do, but just in following that guideline, what we'll say is, hey, we hope you enjoyed your stay. If for any reason you feel like you can't give us a 5-star review, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you. We're always trying to improve the guest experience. Nice. And that's the last automated message that goes out the day that they depart. So if there's a problem, they're going to tell me about it privately, and they probably won't leave a review. But if they've had a great stay, we'll say, hey, thanks for a great stay. We'll put a little line in there about, hey, positive reviews are the lifeblood of our business. We rely on them. We need them. So thank you in advance. If you want to leave one, most people will leave one, and it works out.
Got it. So this is very much you're in the hospitality business, really. It's about your customer experience is really important.
Yeah, you're kind of a combo between operations, logistics, hospitality, sales, a little bit of all of those things. But that's what makes it dynamic and fun. No day is the same. And I think that's why you can wake up and be passionate about something, is it's invigorating. And you're constantly meeting cool people from all around the world with great stories to tell. So you get out of it, what you put into it. And so we really enjoy it. So it makes it a lot easier to run a business this way.
Yeah. What's the saying? If you do what you love, you'll never work another day in your life, right?
That's it right there.
Here's a question and we'll move on to crypto. What about finding someone in the area that would give tours of city or town? Have you experienced anything like that?
Yeah. So one thing we do is we offer a digital guidebook, and we do our digital guidebook through a company called TouchStay. And they've got a partnership with our local short-term rental association here in Nashville. And it's cool what they do. So kind of building on this question, if you're looking for someone to do, a wine tasting tour, a bourbon tour, some type of tour or activity around town, you can go out and build relationships with those people. And so what this digital guidebook will contain is not only all the information about your house, local things to do, but we can also connect them with some discount codes or different local offers that we've kind of prearranged ahead of time to say, hey, if you go to this particular tap room, you can get 10% off by mentioning the name of our company. Same thing for finding someone in the area where you can give tours, kind of build your network of folks. We've got a big network of short-term rental investors here in Nashville. It's a popular place. And the Facebook group is always chiming in with different kinds of ideas and suggestions and questions.
Oh, nice.
What to do. This guest has this request. Where can I take them? So it's cool how the community rallies around it. technically they're competitors, but a rising tide lifts all boats, right? So the more that we can help other people, we'll feel like that comes back to help us as well. So it's knowing your market really well, knowing resources in your market, because you're not going to have all the answers. But if you know who to go to and who to contact, you can definitely set up tours for the guest. And that's a great way to continue that guest experience.
Perfect. That last thing, I was just thinking about this, and I thought about this a minute ago, was, when it comes to the short-term rental business, it seems like the regulation, the legislation, it's a little bit of a moving target. It looks like it's evolving, and it's rather volatile, either one way or the other. This is how you stay in touch with that, and I guess it's your responsibility to know the rules. Is it through your communities and stuff, or is it Airbnb? Do they go ahead and they give you an idea of what's changing or anything like that?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both, but it's mostly the community. So it's really going to be your local short-term rental association. Most mid to large cities will have meetup groups, Facebook groups. I think Nashville's got 6 or 7 Facebook groups last time I checked. So every once in a while I'll get in there and kind of peruse for information, but a lot of it is just plugging in, knowing the information. Nashville, for instance, I can't speak to other markets, but I know Nashville like the back of my own hand now. Their regulations are constantly changing. The short-term rental groups are constantly butting heads with the hotel lobby because we are in direct competition with them.
For sure.
And so whether it's different rules, regulations, zoning, ordinances, and whatnot, there's always something developing. So you do need to learn your zoning code, what's allowed, what are the rules to the process. And as long as you're playing by the rules, it's a good thing because you're providing tourism, you're providing taxes for the city, income from the city. I don't think cities will ever ban short-term rentals outright because they make too much money off of them. You follow the money to understand, how the government will want to work. But so you need to be familiar with them. By no means you have to be an expert, though.
Got it. Cool. Well, thanks for that. So let's shift gears. Let's talk about cryptocurrency. This is how you and I initially met. How long have you been involved, and what got you inspired, and what are you doing with it today?
Yeah, well, so I kind of had a funny story getting started in crypto. It started in 2017, and I just knew about it kind of on a very topical level. So a friend of a friend was starting a hedge fund. How many times have we all heard that?
Right.
Friends and family hedge fund, get involved, and the more people that you bring in with you, we'll cut our fees. And so I said, okay, sounds great. I've got a bunch of friends that want to get into it, but just don't know how. So we invest in this hedge fund. And this ran on for a little bit of time. And then during the COVID crash, hedge funds get wiped out. They were using leverage to try and juice the returns. So when they were longing these cryptos and the market dropped, they got liquidated. Fund went to zero.
It was a crypto hedge fund, is what you're saying.
What's that?
It was a crypto hedge fund.
It was a crypto hedge fund.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, crypto specific hedge fund. Fund went to zero. The general partner of the fund, who actually has a pretty big name in crypto, went personally bankrupt with this fund. And so there was nothing else left. So it was gone. So we licked our wounds and we said, okay, let's rebuild. Let's do it the right way. And so that's when the education piece started. And by far and away, that's what crypto has to be built on, is education and just understanding what it is, why it has utility, why it's important, and why a lot of people think it's got a really bright future for what we're doing. So that's kind of how I got into it. And then the education piece led into dabbling in a bunch of different things before I kind of found my niche and my sweet spot, which is exactly where you and I met on Twitter.
Right. Yeah, I got started in 2017 as well, and didn't know anything other than a friend said do it. And I was like, okay. And I just downloaded the Coinbase app, and I think I put $500 on Bitcoin that day when I got the bank account hooked up. And then I would just and I didn't know anything, and maybe till just about a year and a half ago, all I would do was I didn't feel like doing all the research. So I just put every time Coinbase approved a coin, I just put it on $50 a week auto buy. Yeah. And looking back, that was an amazing, that was a very smart strategy. I was like, let me just leverage their due diligence. If they say it's okay, then I'll go for it. And that grew to a very significant portfolio. And then, about a year and a half ago, I got really kind of more interested. I had a friend that introduced me to the world of decentralized finance and all the different
Yep.
DeFi applications and stuff like that. And stumbled across those strong nodes. That was where I got started.
Yep.
And that was back in June. So almost a full year. And what a life changer that was.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even look at my portfolio anymore because I'm more monitoring the passive income that I get to spend every week.
It's liberating, isn't it?
Say again?
It's liberating, isn't it?
It
Once you
is.
don't feel like you have to check your portfolio 50 times a day to get the latest price movement. You know, it's a great feeling.
Yeah. And, you know, if I was confident enough that these nodes would be there as long as my real estate, as long as my property, I'd probably quit real estate.
Yeah.
Just because that's how productive it's been. I mean, I did the calculation on my strong nodes. This was about 3 months ago. I was like, gosh, if I were to duplicate this in real estate, I have to buy 450 more houses.
No.
Right. And I was like, that is remarkable. But, you know, crypto is still relatively a new asset, and it's really volatile, and there's lots of evolution going on, lots of experiments going on. You just don't know when the winners or losers are going to be. And, you know, I always think, and I think a lot of people use this as well, back when the internet started, if you'd have pushed all your chips in on pets.com, you know, it would have been a big loser, but the internet certainly did not lose, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting about crypto, and you know, it's because now that I've left my corporate job, and what gave me the financial security and freedom to do that was crypto. So I love the space. I'm heavily invested in it. But it wasn't through speculating on the price of Bitcoin. It wasn't through, you know, leveraging or derivatives or anything like that. It wasn't until, exactly like you, I discovered Strong Block. And then from there, you start to understand, what is this space of nodes? How do I build on this? How does it all work? So you discover that that's true form of passive income. The only caveat being we don't know how long it's going to last. But it looks like it's constantly innovating and developing. So I have confidence that it will stand the test of time. It's just a matter of what is it going to look like in the future. But once you discover nodes, and for those listening that don't know what a node is, cryptocurrency is kind of the headline word. It runs on top of blockchain, and blockchain is an open ledger technology to where it's transparent, and it helps create a very secure and scalable network. Cryptocurrency runs on top of that. In order to secure a blockchain, you need endpoints. And so I think of the blockchain in my head as a big, like, Jenga pile. Every time a new block goes in, that's a new little Jenga piece. But in order to secure those blocks, you need what are called nodes. And so nodes are endpoints that facilitate the transfer of data, secure the network, and make it run hyper efficiently. In order to set up a node, you have to contribute capital of that native blockchain token. And then, as a reward for doing that and contributing your capital to the network, you receive a return. So think of it like a dividend or interest based on network volume. So some of these networks that have super high volumes pay out a lot of interest to your node, and it truly becomes a form of passive income. So you're still dipping your toe into the digital world of crypto, but you've got a form of passive income. You're not having to check the charts. You're not having to understand technical analysis and some of this crazy stuff that the gurus can do. You can have exposure to the space, but sit back and collect your rewards and take your profits and put them right into your bank account if you want. You can compound your rewards to create more nodes, which is going to increase your passive income. So there's a lot of different options there. And then when you have that financial freedom, that mental freedom to not have to check the charts and worry about the price of Bitcoin all the time, you can go deep on research and understanding, well, what is DeFi? How does it work? And why are so many people talking about it? Why are the banks so afraid of it? What is Bitcoin? You know, why is it capped at 21 million? Why are all these celebrities buying it? You just have time to focus on that stuff and understand the space on a deeper level. And that's what's required to be successful in crypto.
For sure. And even with the nodes, as good as they've been, you know, I think I've invested in 7 different ones because I wanted the diversity and I wanted the sustainability, and I didn't know which one was going to be the winner. But 5 of those 7 have been absolute losers for me.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not like a surefire bet, a sure thing by any means. I mean, it comes with, you know, this whole idea of the doxed or undoxed, right?
Yeah.
If people have revealed who they actually are. I mean, can you even imagine? Most people can't imagine investing in a fund where they don't know who the owners are, but it happens in crypto on the blockchain all the time.
All the time. It's
Have
prevalent.
you had any losers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone that tells you they haven't had a loser in crypto is lying to your face. I've had several losers, and I'm not too proud to admit it because it's a part of my journey and part of my story. And I think it helped me become a better digital asset investor because of it. But before nodes became really hot and popular, there was a phase where everyone was investing in DAOs,
right?
Decentralized autonomous organizations. And they were basically like syndications. But instead of a real estate syndication, what's the first thing you do to go look up the general partner? You Google search them. You look them up on LinkedIn. Well, you can't do that on crypto because a lot of times these teams are anonymous, which means they're not doxed. Crypto's got a whole different vocabulary that I had to pick up on. They're not KYC'd, which means no one has verified who they are, where they are, what they do, nothing. So basically completely anonymous, and you're submitting capital hoping that they can grow it. So that's where it becomes really important in crypto is getting to know the team, understand the team. Best way to do that is to hop on Twitter where we met. If you want to dive deeper than that, like on a project protocol specific level, hop into their Discord. The developers that are creating these services and protocols will interact directly with you. Free access straight to the guy who's coding in the background. So you do have an unparalleled level of access. But you do have to be very careful with that because I got caught up with Ring. I got caught up in Time Wonderland. Soldier Nodes, I think, was one of them that was a total bust. So there have been 4 or 5 that didn't turn out well.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, the ones that don't turn out well, you've got 1 or 2 that rocket ship to the moon. So it more than makes up for it. And it also reignites your fire to stay engaged in the space.
Right. Yeah, it's very much like the venture capital model. You know, you're going to invest in 20 businesses hoping for one winner. And that's kind of how this has turned out. And even with what you had said, you mentioned Time, who had a very reputable person behind it with a huge track record. So that seemed like a really safe one. I think a lot of people lost there. I certainly did. And then you look at something like Soldier Nodes, which I didn't get into, but I was about to. I was really considering it because their website was beautiful. The mechanics of it was great. And you're just like, no one would go to this much trouble just to pull a scam on somebody. Because it was so gorgeous and it was like so in depth, you know.
Yeah. Well, the crypto term for scam is a rug pull. So there's nothing. And the way a rug pull works is it's obviously not advertised, but you literally go to the dashboard on the website and the website doesn't work. And then you quickly log into the Twitter page to check out what they're doing. Well, account doesn't exist anymore. That's what a rug pull feels like. And it is terrible because it basically just vaporizes into thin air and all your money is gone. And you have no recourse, no action. So that's why it's important to understand how to verify and speak with some of these developers before investing in them. You and I, Matt, have been fortunate to not only with Strongblock, but with Phoenix Community Capital. Kind of came out of nowhere. And it was around the same time when there was a bunch of these rugs happening where projects were just disappearing under the cover of darkness. And so I took a chance on Phoenix Community Capital, and it is by and large proved to be one of the best crypto bets that I've had. Continue to compound, but you get direct access to these developers and their teams. They do what are called AMAs, Ask Me Anything, where the developer will hop on Discord and say, hey, what questions do we have from the community? Anything's fair game. I'm here to answer it. And I just think that's so cool. You would never get that with a Wall Street hedge fund. You would never get that with some sort of real estate syndication. There's this unparalleled access. And I think that's part of this new digital age, which makes it really exciting for guys like me who are never the smartest guy in the room. I can talk to some really smart people who have great ideas and the coding skills to put it into action.
For sure. Yeah, if anybody wants to look into any of these, and we're not affiliated with either of them, we're just investors in them. So we're just a regular person that took a shot and it seems to have worked out. Would be Strongblock. The token is Strong, STRONG. And then there's Phoenix Community Capital, which it's rather new. So still necessarily unproven, but everything is pointing in the right direction for them. And that token is FIRE. But just keep in mind, if you go look at that, I have a higher risk tolerance than most people for this type of stuff. So I'm willing to roll the dice and take chances. And I've done that about 7 times over the last year in these different types of node. And what's the fire's not a node, it's a what's the word?
It's more like a rebase token.
Rebase token, yeah. Rebase token. But it works like on the user side, the investor side, it feels very much the same. But out of 7, 5 lost, and these 2 have hung on, and they're doing really well. So just keep that in mind when you go out there if you're going to look at that, because you'll find all types of other avenues and other things to look at as well. And some of that stuff is pretty seductive and enticing, and your emotions get involved, and sometimes it's hard to resist.
Well, money is money, and sometimes it's hard to keep your emotions in check when you just see digits on the screen, and you're like, oh, I'll go ahead and just roll it over, or I'll invest in this. One thing that I've focused on a lot lately is, obviously you and I have been in the space for several years now, so we have a comfort level with stuff that a lot of people would consider far off the risk spectrum.
Right.
What I've focused on is, now that I've departed the corporate world, a lot of friends, family, colleagues have come out and said, how are you doing what you're doing? Teach me. And I'm like, okay, well, so I found this platform, and I'm not affiliated with them. I don't have an affiliate link. I just think they're great. And I really think this is where the industry is going to head in the future. This platform was just acquired by Betterment, who is the robo-advisor, pretty well known in the space. Platform is called MAKAR. And basically what MAKAR does is they create crypto index funds. And so if you think about investing in the stock market, you've got a large cap growth, small cap value, and everything in between. Same concept, but with crypto. And so they create these thematic baskets, is what they call them, of a blue chip basket, a metaverse basket, Web 3.0 basket. They even have an inflation hedge basket. So all these different little things that you can play with, and you can connect that directly to your bank account. They're SEC registered. So when friends and family and colleagues reach out and go, where do I start? Without giving them a diatribe on blockchain and here's how, here's what DeFi is. It's here, go check out MAKAR. They've got a great little education platform. It's MAKARA.
Got it.
SEC registered. So I send all of my friends and family there to get started. You're not going to learn as well unless you have skin in the game, even if it's $100. Put skin in the game, because then you're going to learn. It's going to resonate with you, and you can still take advantage of a lot of the crypto space and some of the price bumps that happen.
For sure. Perfect. Awesome. Well, Chandler, it's been a pleasure. Let's stay in touch. Perhaps we'll do this again and compare war stories again in the future. If someone wanted to get in touch with you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, sounds good. So the best way to get in touch is via email. So my email is Chandler, CHANDLER, at Hostfolio, HOSTFOLIO.co. And Hostfolio is the name of our short-term rental brand in Nashville. So that's the quickest and fastest way to get in touch. But Matt, thank you for the opportunity. I feel like I've had a lot of people and mentors in my past that have paid it forward and poured into me and given me opportunities that I probably didn't deserve. So just getting to talk about some of the cool things that are out there, expecting nothing in return. And, if we can click the light bulb on for at least one person, I think that's gratifying to me, because there's a lot of cool opportunities out there, and financial freedom awaits on the other side of it.
For sure. It's a remarkable time that we get to live during this period right now, because there's so many opportunities available and so much to choose from that sometimes it doesn't feel like we're living in the real world. Like it doesn't.
Because half the time we're not. You're starting to talk about the metaverse, and I don't know if you consider that the real world or not.
I know, that's another thing I want to talk about, is investing in real estate inside of the metaverse. So maybe for another time. But I really appreciate you taking time out, and it was nice meeting you. And we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, that sounds great, Matt. Thanks for having me. We'll talk soon.
You bet. Take care. All righty. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show there. If you found this episode really valuable, who else do you know that might as well? There's a really good chance that you do know someone else that would. And when their name comes to mind, please share with them and ask them to click the subscribe button when they get here. If you liked what you saw and heard today, make sure you hit the like button. And whoever you send this way, I want to take great care of them as well. All right. So God loves you. So do I. Health, peace, and blessings and success to you. I'm Matt Theriault, living